Hello. It's you. I hand wrote the word hello. That's how much I wanted to say hello to you. It starts with that. I would like to begin with a bold theological question challenge, and it is this statement. It is nearly impossible to get a child to sit in a chair. Now, I say this not as a scholar, but as a parent. Someone whose children see a chair and they treat it the same way a squirrel does the sidewalk. They'll just sort of hover over it and then dart into traffic. They will sit in it the exact opposite way. I will ask them, just sit in the chair. And then instead it's upside down, it's sideways, it's under the chair. It's every which way but possible. Like trying to convince a child to sit in a chair is like trying to convince a raccoon to wear pants. I mean, it's possible, but it's humiliating for everybody. And the chair becomes like a platform, becomes a diving board, it becomes a fort, it becomes everything but the chair. And I just thought becoming a parent would be so much more. I thought it would be a whole lot of, come, sit at my feet. Let me show you my hard-earned wisdom, youngling. But instead, it's a whole lot more of, please, no, sit. No, not like that. No, please. Just, fine. And here I am today with you, people who do this for a living. And not just like with your own children, but other people's children, and on purpose. And you do this not just because you love a challenge, but because you believe that there's something really wonderful happens when kids encounter God's big love. And so when they sit in these little chairs and they encounter God's big love, something really good is gonna happen. And so it is an honor to be in a room full of you. I don't know exactly what to call all of you. You wear such different hats. You have so many different things you do. I would be honored to get to sit and learn and talk to any one of you, but a whole room full of you, a whole bunch of you, I don't know what to call you. As a writer, I love having the right words. I write books for kids, and I've written so many stories, and I love when you find the right word. Like when a ladybug, one ladybug is called, do you know what the word is for it? A whole bunch of ladybugs? You think it's just ladybugs, but it's actually called a loveliness. Isn't that, I know, I love that the audience went, oh, like, yes, exactly. It's the perfect word to describe who they are and how it feels. Same with a hummingbird. One hummingbird is really nice, but a whole bunch of them, that's called a shimmer. I know, I love your response, it's so good. Or like this, a crow. So, hey, easy, guys. A whole bunch of people who work with kids, you're like, murder, like that's not, stop it. Now, I don't know what to call you, though, all these people who care for young people. Like, what do I call a room like this? Like, I know one bunny is called a bunny or a rabbit. A whole bunch of them is called a fluffle. And when us writers get together, that's called a procrastination. And when a whole bunch of Karens come together, that's called a complaint. But you, what do I call you? I don't know. A whole bunch of middle schoolers, that's called a cringe, I believe. Sometimes a drama. Depends on who all's there. But you, maybe you're like a vibe, a latte, a snacktification. I don't know. But today I speak to you as you are, as a loveliness, as a welcoming, as a belonging, as a grace. And I hope your time at this has been really encouraging, and I hope that you've taken some things in that have lifted you up and helped remind you why you do the important work you do. And I hope that you don't leave here like the birds who went to bird church did. The birds who went to bird church heard a sermon, and the sermon was, you can fly, birds, you can fly. And all the birds walked home. So don't do that. Instead, I hope like you can be reminded why you do the work you do. Now, the Bible doesn't talk a lot about furniture. It does talk a lot about sitting, though, and tables. And usually, anytime in Scripture there's people sitting, there's something sacred happening. Like there's this part where Jesus is with Mary, and Mary's sitting at Jesus' feet, and her sister is busy running off, and Jesus says, she's done the right thing. Right before the miracle of feeding 5,000 people, just before that happens, Jesus said, have everybody sit. Like, it was only after, the miracle only happened after there was some stillness. And then the resurrection, after the resurrection, Jesus walks with his disciples for miles, and it was only after they sat down with him that they remembered and they saw him for who he was. So there's something important about when we sit. And for you, the sort of thing that we do in recognizing that something really wonderful can happen. The miracle doesn't always happen in the movement. It happens when we stop. Now, I worked a lot in youth ministry, early days of youth ministry. I knew something good could happen with kids in the chairs. Like if they could just get them in the chairs and they could experience these stories and they could be told how much they matter. And so I spent a lot of time telling and making things. I would make artwork, I would make animations and videos and interactive games, all these sorts of things because I wanted to make their moment in the chair matter. And I had this moment happen early in youth ministry where my laptop was stolen. Like I went out of my office and was gone for a very brief amount of time. I came back and the laptop was just gone. Now there was a kid who always came by my office around that time. So I asked anybody else, was he here? And they're like, yeah, he came by, but he just was looking for you. So he left and I was like, surely he wouldn't do this. So I call him, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, you came by my office earlier? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, did you see anybody? Was anybody around? My laptop's missing. And he said, well, come to think of it, there was somebody there. He looked suspicious. He had big eyes and a twirly mustache. And then I realized, oh no, I do know who he's talking about. The Pringles guy. So I did a little more prodding and I said, hey, actually, buddy, if you know where my laptop is, you can just tell me, it's me. We know each other. And then he started to cry. And he started to tell me how, yeah, he took the laptop. And I was hurt, obviously. But then at the same time, it's him, and I was like, what is going on? And I was hurt because I'm like, this is all the stuff I've been spending all this time on to make the time in your seat with me matter. And then you just took it, and I was like, well, just return it, we'll get it. And he's like, I sold it. Oh no. And then he explains why he sold it. He sold it because his mom was in jail and he thought he could use the money to help get her out. Now, I had no idea that was going on, and it was this massive moment for me to realize there's so much more going on in this kid's life than I ever imagined and that he's been carrying. And suddenly it wasn't about a laptop, it wasn't about all these videos I had made, it wasn't about any of that, and instead it was just about sitting with a kid who was going through something hard. So much of ministry is just sitting in the middle of a mess. We don't like to be in the middle of anything. This is a photo of me in the middle of a drive-through. A friend texted me one morning and said, hey buddy, good morning. I was like, oh no. I hadn't had my coffee. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Yeah, I write a lot about joy for children, and that's my face. But there's something about being in the middle that's hard, and failure's hard, and going through these things is hard, and being a human is hard. So my wife and I started throwing these parties called Failabrations. Now, we know how to have a celebration, but a Failabration is a little harder, but it's very much needed, as I've learned. We had a massive celebration. We invited some of our friends who've done really important things. They've won awards, they've built companies, but they weren't allowed to talk about that. Instead, they could only share about things that had gone wrong, fiascos, terrible things. It was like a TED Talk, but really bad. And the name tags, you couldn't even spell your name right, which is already like a little stressful for perfectionists. But it's like if your name's Brian, put brain. My name's Brad, so it said bread. And so like already everybody's kind of playing around. And I wanted there to be cookies. And so at the very first one I said, it takes courage to share when something didn't go the way you thought it would. So I'm gonna have brave lion cookies. But they didn't turn out right. But because the theme was failure, suddenly like it was on brand, it was okay. And since then, we've had Failabrations all over the country and even all over the world in languages where Failabration doesn't make sense at all. And yet they would still do it because there's something we need sometimes to just share, hey, here's a thing I did and it was hard and it didn't go well. It turned into a picture book that has now been translated into 3 languages. Because apparently people in other countries have the same problem. And the idea is not to avoid failure or avoid challenges, but to fail better. And the way we really fail better is to do it together. Realize we're not alone in this mess. One of the most meaningful Failabrations happened at a church in Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah, there we are. There was a children's minister, Anna Fraser. And I've been learning this a lot, that there's kids in a room full of 100 young people under the age of 18, 1 in 3 of them deal with anxiety to such a degree they can't function. A lot of you are like, yeah, I know their names, their faces, that feels right. A room of 100 ministers, it's even more. So we need this. And so I'm feeling this and seeing this and being with so many different kids in different contexts. And it's with the group of kids in Memphis, Tennessee, where I got to read the story and we shared this, you are not a failure. You are not a failure. You're somebody who's learned. And then at the end, kids had shared all their failures with Anna and her team and the volunteers. And she said, they had shared failures of falling off bicycles and failures of spilling spaghetti on shirts and a whole lot of peeing pants, which was... And then she stood up in front of these kids and at the close said, with nothing very loud, nothing very flashy, but possibly the best sermon I've ever heard, and it was from a children's minister, where she said, we shared a lot of failures today. Some of them small, some of them big, but no matter how big those failures, you know what? God is bigger. And the whole room, applaud that. Applaud that. No matter what, you might be failing. What an important lesson. And I sat there just letting those words wash over me. The truth of that it was true in that moment. It will always be true that God is bigger than any big uncertain thing that might happen for us. And the world has a whole lot of challenges, and your work has a whole lot of challenges in it. And some people might paint a picture of the world that looks like this. Or if you were to make art of what you think ministry looks like, this. But I think it's a whole lot more of this. And it's people like Anna who do that with kids and sharing such big truths in such small ways. It's like planting seeds that will grow. And so I want to share a story with you. Sit in your little chairs and hear the story. The dumpster fire in the garden. It's about you. Once there was this girl, she was just going about her day, when something made her stop, look, and shout, whoa, hey. It was loud, and it was big, and it had flames that went higher and higher. There it was in front of the girl, a giant dumpster fire. The dumpster fire was loud, and it smelled like trash and animal decay, and for some strange reason, the girl simply couldn't look away. It's beautiful, she said. She stood, watched it burn, and people were adding their trash to it, and she thought, ooh, I want to turn. So she added to the dumpster fire, an angry and thoughtless chore. And then she danced and watched the flames get higher and grow more and more and more. Now, I could end the story there for some groups. There's a dumpster fire, just dance by it. But that's not you. It's not her either. The dumpster fire grew taller until it was all the girl could see. Feeling a little sad and empty, she wondered, is this all that was meant for me? So on a quest she went, through stink and smoke she walked. She wiped her cloudy eyes, till she came upon a woman sitting, looked peaceful and wise. Why are you smiling? Asked the girl. You're just staring at a pile of dirt. Ah, but this is a garden, said the woman. Come, tend and heal your hurt. So soon there was planting and tending and so much waiting for transcending. She missed the quickness of the dumpster fire, but soon her heart, it started mending. Because soon there was blossoms and color and life and beauty and a desire to nourish and not to harm them. Because good things grow when we leave the pointless fire and tend the loving garden. Good things grow when you leave a pointless fire and tend the loving garden. Now the dumpster fire grew smaller but never fully went away, and the garden bloomed and enchanted every soul who came its way. Now for every person hearing this, a decision must be made. Be distracted and feed the dumpster fire, or tend the garden of good today. Thank you. To you are gardeners of goodness, planting seeds. This is somebody I wanted to tell you about so badly. This is somebody who means so much to me. If you were to say like, hey Brad, what's it look like to be a gardener of good? Like, what's it look like to show up over time? This is my friend David. This is my friend David sitting at a Bojangles with a group of high school boys studying the Bible. A thing they do over time, nothing big, nothing fancy, just sitting at Bojangles, studying the Bible. And David does this. He's done it for more than 30 years now, serving as a youth minister, teaching, loving, and like he's one of the finest speakers, communicators I've ever heard. I wish I was sitting in the audience hearing him teach. He has a way of sharing who Jesus is with everything he does, with a blast of creativity and fun. But it started in a Sunday school class, and this is the chair. This chair was from a church in Cleveland, Tennessee. Yeah. It was gonna be thrown out with new chairs, and his mom was like, no, don't, this chair. That's where my son sat, heard stories about Jesus, folded his hands into a church and said, here's the steeple, here's the people, all that stuff happened in this chair with Miss Cunningham. Miss Cunningham sat across from him in this chair, and I doubt David sat still. I doubt he was well behaved. I doubt he did all the things a good little boy should do in Sunday school, but he sat in that chair. I heard stories from Miss Cunningham, and I've been so smitten with the image of this chair because it takes me back to sitting in Sunday school and reminds me of Miss Mary Kate Stroop, who was my Sunday school teacher. Reminds me of my Bible teachers who showed up, and they sat with me, and I heard about who God was. Now, Miss Cunningham isn't here today, but her impact is. Miss Mary Kate isn't here today, but I am. I carry the story she told me with me. Little David, little chair, big God. Now his work reaches so many kids, so many young people impacted for 30 years in youth ministry. And that's what it takes over time. Showing up, sitting down with kids. And I'm in a room full of a whole bunch of you who do that on purpose. You who've said sit down more times than you can count. You who've wondered if anything matters. You who've wondered if any of this is gonna add up to anything. You with all your uncertainty. You with all your unpolished work. You with all your unworthy feelings. Yeah, sure. Maybe your perfect lesson plans might not be fully remembered. Some young people may not even remember your name, but they will remember what it felt like to have somebody sit with them and tell them about who God is and what his love looks like. And they will feel it and they will see it because they have been seen and celebrated by you. You. I see as you sit in your places of wherever that might be, I hope every single young person around you knows God's big love. Because the chairs around you might be small, but what God is up to around them is very big. And what's happening matters so much. May every kid around you know love, God's love, the love that is bigger than any challenge they might face. And you, this loveliness, this shimmer, this grace, you grace givers with glue sticks, you bringers of goodness, you are not just babysitters of belief, you are not just crowd control, and maybe kids were right the whole time. This was never supposed to be just a chair. Maybe it's not the destination, it's a diving board. It's a launch pad, it's a bonfire, it's a belonging, it's where it starts. You are not just filling seats, you're forming hearts and shaping a future. May God's love be known and felt everywhere. May every child around you feel safe, seen, celebrated, and supported. And may you remember who you are, a whole bunch of weirdos. But also, God's beloved children. And as God's beloved children, what he wants is for you to sit with him. Feel that presence. Be loved. Feel safe, seen, and celebrated as his beloved child. Wow. I'm in a room full of not just one of them, but a whole bunch of them. Let's go love kids like that. Thank you.